afternoon, everyone. I hope this finds you well and happy in the middle of the week. Happy hump day. So I'm just going to jump right in today. Question of the week: should I sell my property? Is it time to sell my investment property? I've got some really interesting numbers to show you guys, and I'm hoping it's going to give you some things to think about before you make that decision. My answer is no. Now is not the time to sell your investment property. In fact, quite the opposite. So let's have a quick look here. As you guys know, Perth has been experiencing a really positive real estate market, particularly in the last 12 months, more so in the last 6, and even this quarter we've seen improvements on that again. So here's some numbers for you to have a think about. Average unit rental prices. So in December 2020, so the first quarter of this year, average unit price was $350 a week. By the middle of this year, so within 6 months, that went from $350 a week to $400. So a 14% increase in the average rental price of units in Perth. The house prices went from being an average of $410 a week to $450 a week. That's a 9.5% increase. This is in 6 months. I mean, that's a massive jump. They're big returns in a short period of time. Now, I think what we're going to see is when we get the statistics released for this quarter, that number's going to be increased again, I would say. Based on the activity that we've seen in Perth, that number is highly likely to be going up maybe a couple percent more. So let me pose this question to you. If your rental returns are going up by between 10 to 14% in 6 months, and that's only going to keep going up because of the supply and demand issue that we're having with rental properties in Perth, why would you sell now? Particularly for those of you who have had rental properties for a number of years, why sell when your rental prices and your returns are now greater than they have been over the last 5, 6, 7 years? So just think about that. Now, the whole supply-demand thing in Perth at the moment, we are short on rental stock across the board. So these prices are only going to keep going up while we have a shortage of supply. It's going to have to take your brain back to economics in year 10 and 11 with the supply and demand concept here. So it's realistically going to take 12 to 18 months minimum for us to recover from this rental shortage that we're experiencing at the moment. So how do you think that's going to have an effect on the rental prices in Perth? So keep that in mind. Now, the other really interesting thing that I want you guys to have a think about when you're thinking about keep my property for another year or 2 years or sell. Here we go, let's crunch some numbers. So let's just say, I'm just saying a $500,000 property, a rental income of $400 a week. We'll go with the average, say it's a unit. So that is going to generate an income of around $20,000 a year after your standard management fees have been paid. Now, if you were going to sell that same property, the cost for you to sell that based on average agent sales fees and marketing expenses and settlement costs, it's going to cost you between $17,000 to $20,000 to sell that property that's making you $20,000 a year. Now, if you think about this, if you hold that property for another year, not only potentially would the value of that property go up in that year, you're basically putting that money back in your pocket, because that money that you've just made in the year covers the cost for you to sell that property next year, as opposed to spending $20,000 and missing out on the potential income of $20,000. So let's apply the same logic to a $1 million property generating $800 a week income. Now that equates to around $37,000 a year after your standard management fees have been taken out. To sell that same property is going to cost you at least $30,000 in agents' fees, marketing costs, settlement fees, etc. You're going to be up $7,000 based on this scenario if you hold on to this property for a year. Not to mention, you're now also going to completely cover your cost to sell that property in a year. So that's $30,000 plus the extra $7,000 that you've made. back in your pocket. So just have a think about that. There is a lot of hype around at the moment, around sales, and people are jumping on the fear of missing out bandwagon. They want to sell, or it's really good, they think it's a bubble. But just have a think about it, because the numbers are there, and they all say that now is a great time to keep your investment property, not sell it. So just when someone approaches you or, talks about, hyping up the sales market, like, yes, it is a good sales market, but think about your circumstances as well. Don't just jump on board with it and go, yeah, I'm just going to sell, because you could potentially be missing out on thousands of dollars. And what for? Why? What is the point of going on that investment journey just to sell when the numbers are getting good? So, a bit of food for thought for you guys there. I'm very interested to hear your feedback. This is very general, I know, but the concept is there. So please have a think about it before you go jumping on board. And if you want to bounce any ideas off me, or you want my advice, on rental property returns versus what it's going to cost you to sell, please give me a call or send me an email. I'm always happy to help. And, just all I'm asking is for you guys just to have a think about it. There's some really logical explanations and some really good rationale here for why you should not sell your property right now. Hope you have a good evening, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.